obviously too much choice can lead to the problem of not making any decisions, and the chaos of not knowing what to do with your life, because the internet gives you too many options. So there's a freedom there, great potential, but how do you find the balance between the routine that you need, which is limiting, but then the sense of enough freedom and autonomy so that you don't become susceptible to the infinite pleasures of, say porn or, whatever you're...
But the pleasures of porn are not infinite, they're very, very limited. And so, if I go back, right, one of the things that got me to really understand this is that, I mean, I grew up with two alien parents, both of them foreigners.
I haven't recorded this as a...
They are recording it, and you're blocking in, so I'm going to have to edit that. And both of my parents were foreigners, and I grew up feeling like an alien throughout the whole of my childhood, and never had a sense of belonging, and never had any opportunity to belong, because all the things I ever did created displeasure among my peers. So I had a sense of being alienated.
Did you have brothers and sisters?
I have a sister, and she felt the same.
Right.
So because we're both a mixed race, so we know that we're neither black nor white.
Mm-hmm.
So the problem with that is that there is this imperative to belong, because otherwise, if you don't belong, you don't get access to all the resources that society and civilization have got.
Mm-hmm.
So the child bends themselves into any shape that's possible and complies and fawns and tries to create a false personality to fit in and mould themselves.
Mm-hmm. We have this trouble as well.
Yeah.
Car's going by.
Yeah.
There's a car. Right. Thanks for that, Sal.
Okay.
So what eventually I realised was that there wasn't anything that I could do that gave me a sense of greater belonging. I mean, I kind of married young, in order to get away from the environment that made me different.
Mm-hmm.
So I tried to go into a chameleon mode and identify as white British. Right, and so I abandoned being half German and abandoned being half Indian. So I tried to identify as being white British. And in that relationship, everything went tits up, everything went pear-shaped. It was a horrible, horrible sense of I had to surrender everything that I really am in order to adopt this false persona, in order to adopt this false personality. Mm-hmm. And I had numerous crises of identity, thinking I don't belong. And I felt so much shame at not belonging anywhere. And one day I actually drew it out as a Venn diagram. And I thought, look, this is my mum and dad, this is the society, this is the kids, this is how my ex-wife treats me, this is how my kids treat me. And I'm not in any of those circles.
Where's the you kind of thing?
Where am I? I don't belong in the real me, and I don't even. And the real me is in so much pain at not belonging anywhere. And then something just clicked, and I realised that not belonging anywhere was the same thing as freedom.
Mm-hmm.
And that was what set me on the path of actually trying to uncover it all. So when you're talking about the parent-child relationship, when a child is taken and put into school and all of the things that go with it, the child has to abandon who they really are in order to comply. And so what we've got is that we've got a society where most people are utterly compliant and don't know it.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore the porn for them is the metaphor for the cage. That's what their fantasy is allowed to see.
Yeah.
But in order to get the freedom, they have to go into a place of complete non-belonging and no permitted personality of it.
Sure. You must find that when talking to people about porn is rarely something people watch because they're horny or they're aroused. They watch it because they're escaping a feeling or they're upset.
Yeah, absolutely.
They don't have a sense of self.
Absolutely.
And I feel in a way, and I don't know if this is just a crackpot theory, but if you're in a society where there is not much danger, there's not much excitement, then porn is an environment where you can entertain the kind of danger and taboo and shock effect that you would never dare say to a woman. And so it's
in the same way that people watch the
Murder.
thrillers, the murder things,
100%.
the man who's representing his country and
Mhm.
killing everybody and never getting killed and then getting the girl at the end. You know, that is pornography.
I think in the Western world you've got porn, which is afflicting men, which is a compensation for a lack of autonomy and authority that they feel they have.
Yeah,
potentially.
it's that comes right from childhood, when you separate the child
Exactly, yeah.
from the mothering and parenting and the bosom of mother, where
Mm.
there will be the hormone oxytocin will be present.
Mm.
They never get that oxytocin again until orgasm, because oxytocin is released at orgasm,
right.
so they're never going to get it until then. So therefore, when you get your teenager who started masturbating, then they think, well, we've got this, mum and dad. You abandoned us when we were kids, and we're not getting that, and they turn their back on parenting, on receiving that nurture,
Yeah.
and the real nurture and the real embracing of each other is so much in shame that nobody will touch each other, and the yearning for that touch, and so what happens is we're looking for the missing bit in sex.
Mhm.
So we're looking for the part of ourselves that is gone in sex, because that's the only bit that's allowed. So sex is allowed.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not getting that bit that I need in sex.
Mm-hmm.
So let's look at this pornography stuff to see if it's in there,
Mm-hmm.
and it isn't, because the bit that we're looking for is actually in embrace, is in affection, it's in actually total acceptance of a child, so that the child can actually elevate himself into freedom.
Mm-hmm.
And the pornography is not going to show that. So there's endless consumption of pornography, desperately looking for the part of themselves that's missing.
I see.
That's and I'll be interested to see
Yes.
how that sits with you. What that.
Yeah, that rings true. I mean, I'm still in the, because that sounds to me like that's taken maybe a couple of decades to figure out,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I'm-
some.
And sure, I mean, I'm in the stage
Thank you.
at
Thank
the
you.
moment. Well, no, I mean, wisdom's wisdom, you know. For me, it's I'm still in the stage where I'm in the dialogue with the shame, and I'm trying to put it into context of the story of one's life, because I have 2 or 3 contradictory philosophies of life that all explain why one would have trauma or addiction, and I haven't found a way of piecing it all together as a coherent way of looking at my life. Maybe because I haven't discovered a type of peace with my body, which could be achieved by the kind of stuff you guys do. But it also might be because I put a lot of belief in the story you tell yourself is the most important thing about the way that your life will go, because of the significance of stories through history. And if you call yourself a victim and you play into the victim mentality, you can over-identify with part of yourself that's broken, which is maybe necessary in the healing stage. But if you don't have something separate to put your eyes upon, aiming up potential you, a hero, whatever it is, then the challenge I found is, what is that hero? What is that higher self? And the 2 contradictions I'm having in life is, I don't know if you can practice what you preach. I don't know if it's possible. When I look at artists, shamans, teachers, preachers, they've all got their own contradiction that they can't actually do it themselves. But maybe their inability to do it themselves is the gift they give. It's, I know the truth of this particular thing, and the sacrifices I can't actually do it. That interests me. I don't know if that's true. That's one thing. And then the other contradiction is something like, with with something like shame and an identity with a, you know, I'm ashamed about my sexuality, I'm ashamed about my childhood, and so on. Is there truth? Is it true that you can just walk away from that and say, you know what, I'm not going to identify with that. I'm just going to walk away from it, just like abandoning a part of yourself. But then, I guess, the body obviously keeps a score, and all of that stuff is trapped, and it ain't going anywhere. No word, no dialogue, no story can actually. So that again, that's where you guys come in, and you know, you get back to the body, you get back to that sensation. That's the stage where I'm struggling with, is getting back to the body.
I think the answer that I found is that really the word you used was about the conundrum between the shame and actually and moving on from that shame.
Mm-hmm.
Difficulty that I've understood now is there's only survival and evolution.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't survive, you don't get to evolve. So you don't ever get to deliver yourself.
Right.
And if you don't deliver yourself, there was no point in surviving.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What was the point in your existence if you survived but never actually contributed yourself into the mix?
Yeah.
There was no point at all. And my attitude to that is it sounds and feels a little brutal, but I think that in the nature in that sense is brutal. If you sacrifice who you are in order to survive, then what's left? And so what happens is the child discovers that in order to fit into a civilization, they have to abandon certain parts of themselves.
Question on that.
And those parts of themselves that they abandon go into shame. And the problem with it is the word survival.
Okay.
The survival means you don't die.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore the child has abandoned a part of themselves in order not to die. So therefore there's fear has motivated that abandonment. The motivation of self-abandonment would only ever be fear. So fear of the part of themselves that nobody wants.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore they stop wanting it. So I stop wanting it in order not to offend you.
Mm-hmm.
And in doing so, for me to recover the part of myself that I have abandoned, I have to go to the fear of death and reparent myself in the place where that feeling is.
Yes.
That's why most of the people who claim to have done this work have got these bits that are broken and missing, is because there will be bits of themselves that they haven't actually looked at because they abandoned themselves very, very young.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a lot of work that I personally, with my wife and family, have actually participated in that has taken me to the edge where I faced those feelings, and that's why that's why we're having this conversation. Really.
Yeah.
Does that make
makes
a little bit more sense?
I had the question of what was related to that is when you described earlier that where are you in this big picture of your life, you know, where's the you? And you said it was, you know, actually that was the freedom of not being constrained to one identity. I'm in a state of life where I do feel the same way, that I don't really identify with anything, and I feel like every decision that I've ever made has been influenced by what someone else wants, what someone else has said. I never had much autonomy as a kid, so I didn't have much sense of I don't know how to want.
So there would be a sense of abandoning yourself in order to align yourself with somebody else.
Yeah, that's it. And
then we have to ask, in a therapeutic context, I'd ask you, what is that like for you to have to give up yourself in order to be liked by someone else, in order to belong, in order to be a member of something else? What are the what is your resource pool like that you have to do that? What is it that in you that is unavailable, that means that you'd rather take somebody else's drive than yours? And I don't think it's appropriate to even look at that here now.
Sure.
But it's a question to ask, because it's actually really, it's going to uncover the things that are actually driving you.
Yeah, definitely.
Can we
Food for thought. I was going to say, do you want to start with these questions and then do a separate...
Well, how's it looking?
Shall I stop?
Yeah.
That's all right. Shall I stop recording?
Yeah, stop
Yeah.
recording.
Oh, just